It pays for my Lego addiction.
Legos pays for my camera splurge.
I
One
got
of my lenses.
I got hardwood floors coming
Oh, you did?
on the 28th. I'm gonna put them in.
So we did. We had Call to order our work session for March 26th. Reviewing for Thursday afternoon. We'll call to order, roll call by Ms. Adams, pledge of allegiance by the Girl Scout troop. And then we go to acceptance of agenda. We have awards and presentations. We have the proclamation for the Girl Scouts that will be presented on Thursday. They should be here for the 112th year of the Girl Scouts in the United States. And then we have city manager report, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of the council. The State Route 90 sewer reroute project bids are scheduled to be open on Friday, so we'll let you know what those costs are after that. The needs assessment for the municipal court, we're currently negotiating the scope of work with the one respondent that we had. Some projects that have been planned for a while that'll be getting underway. The pedestrian walkway connection, shared use pass, ADA ramps, sidewalk driveway has been awarded to K&G for $577,000. And then, of course, the annual street maintenance project, which includes asphalt patching, crack seal, and liquid sand seal, has also been awarded to K&G. And I think that one was just shy of $800,000. So those will be going here pretty soon. The feasibility study for the space reentry port at the airport was awarded to the firm of Launch on Demand, and that should be kicking off, and hopefully that'll lead to a permit at the airport for space reentry. And then finally, at long last, the Animal Control Center project is underway and scheduled for completion in September.
Excellent.
Okay.
Long overdue.
Yes. We need that to go.
Yes, sir. Any questions, comments, city manager? All right, thank you, sir. And item number 2, we've got a consent agenda. And then we go to a public hearings. Item number 3, staff report, Ms. Adams.
Mayor McCaw, members of council, this is basically an administrative acquisition of control change for the Applebee's liquor licenses. As they're doing some corporate restructuring, and they have to go through the process to have the right corporation listed as the owner. There are no changes to personnel. There's no changes to their agent. It is, again, it's merely administrative. The notice of the public hearing was posted, however. No comments have been received, pro or con, and we did the standard background check regardless of the process. So we went through all the steps, and if approved on Thursday night, it'll go back to the state for final action.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And proceed on to our new business. Item number 4, resolutions 2024-16, staff report, Mr. Rodriguez.
Williams.
Oh, Mr. Williams. What?
Mr. Rodriguez can get a staff report if he likes. Mayor,
I was looking at you, I said, Mr.
I'll
Rodriguez.
give you a staff report if you want, but my version.
I'll brief you really quickly, Mark, so we can.
Ours would be the same.
Mayor, members of council, you are familiar with this item. In January of this year, Mr. Edwin Groover, a local citizen, well, Cochise County resident, recorded a couple of security interests, what he styled as security claim of commercial lien and affidavits against the city. These liens have no basis. There is no grounds for them. He has, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, Mr. Groover has undertaken a campaign of recording false and groundless documents against various governmental entities and multiple government employees here in the county. And so we got caught up in his efforts, and these are 2 of the liens that he's recorded. Absent his voluntary retraction of these liens, we've got to take action pursuant to Arizona law to have these set aside. And so this resolution would just authorize the city attorney's office to pursue action against Mr. Groover, which most likely will involve retaining outside counsel. I have a personal conflict, professional conflict in pursuing Mr. Groover personally. I have been in contact with one attorney who has represented the city of Benson in basically the same type of action. He represents many of the cities and towns throughout the state through the Arizona Municipal Risk Pool, and he's willing to give us the government rate, which is a pretty significant discount on this. And so that's what this is for, is to allow us to move forward against Mr. Groover.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we go to item number 5, staff report. Good afternoon, Ms. Elena.
He said one of these.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Michael Slania again. Thank you for allowing me to appear virtually. I will be in attendance on Thursday. The resolution that you have before you is merely an amending resolution. It changes the underwriter for the Champion School bonds. Both the Sierra Vista IDA and the City Council had previously approved their resolutions authorizing the issuance of these bonds, but the bonds did not get issued prior to the end of 2023, and the underwriter moved, the particular person who was working at the underwriting firm moved from one underwriting firm to another. So he is experienced with this school. They would like to move with him, but because it was authorized as part of the bond purchase agreement, they need to come back and get an amending resolution, both from the Sierra Vista IDA and the city. The Sierra Vista IDA has already approved that. In addition, the resolution changes the series designation to 2024. So nothing has changed about the school, the project, the amount, or anything else. It's just those two changes.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? For Mr. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We go to item number 6, staff report, Mr. McLaughlin.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, for the sake of jogging your memory, I'll refer this as the Foothills Drive Amendment. I recall back on February 8th, you put out for a 30-day public comment period amendments to the administrative modifications section in the development code that would allow staff to, it would apply to residentially zoned properties fronting a street that has a platted right-of-way width that exceeds the required platted right-of-way width for the functional classification assigned to it under the roadway design manual. And so what that will allow us to do is reduce the front yard setback to equal or less than the distance between the back of the sidewalk and the right-of-way line for residential home additions, just to provide a little more flexibility in the development code to improve residential properties. No public comments have been received to date, and with that, we will recommend adoption of the ordinance as presented on Thursday.
Excellent. Any questions on the adoption of the ordinance for Mr. McLaughlin? All right. Thank you, sir. And then we'll have a call to the public and comments and requests of the council, and then we will adjourn. So for today, we have our Roadrunner Park design concepts. The Director of Fun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I was before you a couple of weeks ago and was asked to bring these concepts back just because there were some of you not in the room, and this is a very popular topic, our future park design. And we were playing around with some technology, and I think that we actually have Wheat Design Group on the line this time. Just a little background for you. Since we were able to acquire the land that is affectionately known as Roadrunner Park now on the corner of St. Andrews Drive and Canyon de Flores, we have done a lot of work trying to make sure that the public's voices were heard within this space. In June of 22, we had an Engage platform survey completed, and also 2 on-site surveys completed in person at the space, and we received over 1,400 responses, which is a huge response for any of our public outreach efforts, which is a good news story because we know that we're in the right direction and the community is really excited about this. Wheat Design Group was selected as our partners to provide the concepts for the future Roadrunner Park. We awarded that contract in August of 2023. And since then, we have met internally with our city partners And we've had several discussions with the wheat design team throughout the process. And again, I would just like to thank our partners that have sat at the table through those discussions. We've had Sharon Flassar, Tony Boone, our parks maintenance team, which is very important to have there, and just really appreciate all of their efforts. Matt was there too, and I appreciate everybody's input. So after getting all those inputs together and listing and keeping the focal point to all of our surveys from the public, we have now the two concepts that you see before you now, and so do we have Laura on the line? Laura?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Laura. So
Hi.
this is Laura Mulkarek. She is the principal with Wheat Design Group. She's joined with some members of her team that are responsible for these wonderful concepts here. And she's going to walk you through those concepts, be available for any of your questions, and I'm here as well. And I look forward to receiving your input and moving this project along. So, Laura, it's all yours.
Thanks, Laura. Good afternoon, Mayor McCaw and council members. Thank you very much for allowing Wheat Design Group to come and present the two concepts for Roadrunner Park. My name's Laura Mulkarek. I'm the principal and owner of Wheat Design Group. We're a landscape architecture firm in Tucson and have been doing projects throughout Southern Arizona for the last 40 years. So we're been around. I'm not going to really talk too much anymore because we want to get into the concepts. And I have two of my designers, Jennifer and Jenny, and they will be presenting the concepts. So the first one up is Jennifer, and she's going to go over the first concept. Thank you.
Muted.
Muted. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Now you can hear me. Okay. Excellent. So this is I'm Jennifer Yaros. I'm one of the landscape architects at Wheat Design Group, and I'm very happy to be here to share some of our ideas, summarized into concepts for Roadrunner Park. So it's been a pleasure to work with Laura Wilson, since she has a lot of contagious visions about what Sierra Vista Park should look like. So I'm gonna walk you through the first of the concept, Adventures Park, and then Jenny will follow after me with that. So I share my screen, right? Laura, it's gonna be my screen, the one that I share.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm like, which screen? Okay, excellent. Give me just a second here. Oh, can everybody see
Yes, ma'am.
the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm confirming, so I'm not getting it here. Okay, so Adventures Place is one of the concepts that we work on after, big research in the topic. So the main big picture about this one was to create a cohesive park that has, 4 or 5 unique segments that will blend all together. And at the end, we'll engage users in all the spaces around it and, have some kind of belonging to them. So the goals were explore, challenge, discover, and celebrate in this concept. So what did I mean with that? So explore. We want people to explore different options of physical activity, social interactions. We want people to feel comfortable, even very active people, passive people, everybody can be feeling re-energized inside the park. And we want to celebrate the desert around the Sierra Vista area. So these goals will have an ultimate kind of objective, which is to support health, wellness, and social connections that at the end, because it's at the end, will provide opportunities for healthy lifestyles. So let's take a look at the concept layout. Adventures Play will have a main central plaza. Can you guys see my cursor there? Main central plaza here. We will have a multi-use open space here, which is the green area. We will have a challenge course, which is this one here. We will have a main entrance with parking spot, and then this will be the guidance to the main plaza here. We will have a playground, which is all this area here, a splash pad, a bike skill area here, and a fitness spots here. All this will be tied out with this different kind of sidewalks and different kind of exploratory views. So this main plaza, which is the center, I will go through some pictures later on, but this main plaza will be connected to all the entrances of the park, from this existing parking to the plaza, from the neighborhood to the plaza, from the main entrance to the plaza, and from all the other entrances. We also will have a big loop around the whole space for all those users who, will want to just walk around and make some miles there. So, okay. So I'm gonna divide this concept in three little enlargements, which will be like, let's say this corner, then this corner, and at the end, the top corner. So we can see it in more detail. These are some of the elements that we're working on. So this is the center area where we have the main plaza, which it will be the main kind of connection to all the spaces. As I mentioned before, we want to have the users very exposed to different things, because, you go to the park and then you want to do very specific things, either walking or biking or sitting. But if you see that there's some other activities around, then you will be more interested to do some other kind of activities. So we have the main entrance here with the, we have 40 spots so far in parking area here for people who's coming from farther. You have the main entrance with emphasize a promenade of trees and a lot of plants around, create some kind of shaded spots for people to sit. We have benches, and we have kind of picnic benches if you want to do some kind of picnic. So we have this main entrance. We have the playground area all together here, next to the big parking lot, which will be like this blue one will be the splash pad. We will have all the equipment for the playground for 5 and 12 years old along this line, and we will have for smaller kids here from 2 to 5 years old, kind of like a sandbox area, more for little ones. From here, we will move to the corner of San Andreas and Cañon de Flores. Here, we locate a big multi-use open space. We're thinking about, kind of a turf big area with a big ramada. This one we have also a big small loop of walking around, for a more private kind of experience. All of this surrounded by the promenade of trees. We have this photo spot, we call it, because there's a very nice and neat mountain view in the back of it, that we thought that it will be like a platform, a little bit raised, with some trees to frame it and have, pictures taken there. So in this corner, which is where the neighborhood is closer to the park, we locate a challenge course, which is one of the spaces with rock climbing, and you will have more kind of boot camp style exercise for the people who like to do more physical activity and they like to challenge themselves. All of this will be next to the main entrance and at the same time connected to the main plaza that we have over here. Let me go to the next piece. So this next piece, it will include a big loop for bikes, which is a yellow line, like more for kind of speed up a little bit the bikes there. We will have bike skill area. I will show some pictures a little bit ahead. And all of this will be surrounded, all of these loops will surround the fitness section, which will have different exercise equipment for people who want to do kind of a gym style exercise outside, in an open space. So these are some of the pictures that we kind of went through, and we thought that it was very interesting. These kind of shade structures were more emphasized and thinking about the main plaza, that it's, it's like a kind of partially shaded area that can have people just sitting, having picnic, or just, hanging out there. So this is one of the, views for you guys to explore. So in one of the main entrances we have, or the main entrance, we have a water feature, and this is how we kind of visualize it, more like and the different stages during the day, sometimes we will have water, sometimes we'll have less water, but it will be some kind of visual to the entrance of the park, and it will create some kind of cooling kind of effect during the more heated months. So this is an example of the playground that we envision, which is having the elements a little bit more separated, creating different areas for the kids to play and run and use the equipment, but use some kind of more physical activity, running from one spot to another one. And the playground will be similar to this one, more like a typical playground that have different features, that also work, during certain months of the year, but that invite people to just refresh a little bit there. This is located next to the playground area. These pictures are some examples of how the main Ramada will look like. If we think about a big Ramada for a big event, like a concert or a wedding or meetings or big parties, will be, something similar to this. I was talking about the challenge course, for more kind of athletic users. This one have a lot of climbing walls, a lot of ropes, a lot of different obstacles. That it can be even created by the people who use it. So it's kind of fun, and then you can do competitions there. You can do kind of races. Over here, we can see some of the bike skills that I mentioned, which is one small area that we select and next to the bike loop that we design. That have some kind of different obstacles too, but with bikes for different ages. And this is some of example of how kind of like an outdoor gym look like. You can have all the equipment in one spot, or you can have the equipment kind of separated in stations. So I want to say just like, this is one of my last pictures that we're very happy to work in the project, and I hope you guys are enjoying seeing all of this research. It's very exciting to help create a special park with a lot of, creating more outdoor experiences. Thank you. I'm gonna pass now the screen to Jenny so she can talk about the concept too.
Jennifer, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, can you share now? We can switch spots. Okay. Excellent, I can see.
So, hi everyone, my name is Jenny Moscato, and I'll be taking you through concept 2. that we are calling Sky Island Vista. Sky Island Vista Park is meant to enhance and celebrate the beautiful natural resources of the Sky Islands that Sierra Vista is situated in. And this park will also immerse users in the site where they'll observe and interact with elements that are unique to your area. Next, I'll be showing our goals. So really, we can synthesize our goals into 3 words: natural, experiential, and sustainable. So natural means highlighting the aspects of the Sky Island environment that Sierra Vista is known for. It's beautiful outdoors and bird watching. Experiential is about creating spaces where users interact and engage with different elements around the site. And sustainable signifies the goal of protecting the natural environment from necessary impacts and also restoring areas of the park that have been degraded over time. And we'd also like to encourage walkability from the surrounding neighborhoods. So next, I'll give an overview of the main attractions in the park that this plan view shows. Later, similar to Jennifer, I'll zoom into a couple of these zones to show more detail and walk you through the more heavily designed portions of the park. But broadly speaking, we want Sky Island Vista users to, we want the park to really engage all users. So, you know, there's this connection on the south edge. This is roughly a 70 car parking lot, and this is, although it encourages people to access the park from this area if they have to drive, we also have smaller entrances that connect to the nearby neighborhoods along the corners. So if you're a nature lover, you're going to like this park. We have a habitat boardwalk over here in the right corner, and it goes through a riparian zone. There's also over a mile of gravel nature trails that is through some restored desert habitat. The hummingbird gardens are in this darker green that you can see. These are different sized patches throughout the park, and they're more densely planted. And then there's also, in the light pink, some areas for bird watching. If users want a more hands-on experience, there's also interactive play areas shown in the yellow, and as well as these orange starbursts are interactive sculptures that we've placed throughout the park. If you're there for more just social, hanging out with friends or family, there's also areas for that. So in the darker pink, we have an amphitheater, and these areas throughout are gathering spaces with some shade structures. They can be used with some flexibility. You could have small parties, do outdoor learning in these areas, or host community events. Next, I'm going to just show you these different elements that we've created to represent the different zones in the park. So oftentimes in this concept too, you'll see these elements working together on the plan, and merging these experiences together creates a richer experience for the park users. So getting into those zoomed in areas, we have here on the bottom right, the main entrance. It shows this connection into the park and into the main plaza and playgrounds. From the entry point, you can either take the nature trail to the left that leads you to some picnic areas and ramadas that are around the nature playgrounds. So this is for families and small groups to occupy these ramadas while people are playing. There's also the option to walk on this paved path to the right from the main entry plaza. You move through this plaza, sculpture plaza area, And on either side of these areas are those more densely planted hummingbird gardens. These could have educational signage to teach the users about native plants in Sierra Vista, and also these areas are meant to support local pollinators and attract hummingbird species and other migratory birds that come through this area. And then off to the right and left here at the top, this main paved path takes you, it's off screen, but it takes you to the existing parking space that is already at the northwest corner of the park. So that's remaining, that access point. And the next slide will show you a little like where this trail pathway takes you off to the right. So the next slide shows what I sort of think is the heart of the park. There's multiple activities concentrated in this region, but it's still closely connected to that main entryway. There's an amphitheater here on the left. It seats about 75 people and has some flex open space in case you need to add movable tables or chairs for a larger event, or it could be used more intimately for like an outdoor classroom setting, or just an informal, resting spot along this paved trail. It's also conveniently located near these new proposed restrooms and other major features of the park. So in the next few slides, I'll get into images, real life images of what this water play area could look like, as well as the boardwalk that's in pink and this habitat or riparian zone in blue. So this is examples of the water play element. It's pretty unique. It's not like your typical splash pad. This is meant to be lower water use, just an area that mimics the San Pedro River corridor that is nearby and is so special. So you can imagine kind of like being immersed in this water play experience, hearing the sounds of water going through rock channels or splashing your feet in the shallow puddles. And, this is meant to be more sustainable than your typical splash pad, so it can recirculate water. And there would need to be like a pump and cleaning system for this to function. Next, I will show some of those proposed interactive sculptures. So here's just some ideas of the materials and shapes those sculptures could take. They are meant to play off the nature theme of this concept. So we could use weathered steel to create a shape of a bird's nest. There can also be forms like tree trunks that kind of take you through this threshold. Maybe it's an entry to a trail, a nature trail. Another idea we had was to include sculptures that lit up. This could engage people throughout the day and night at the park if that's desired. These two bottom right images are actually from a local Tucson firm called Creative Machines, and they specialize in creating interactive sculptures that light up with like a push button or maybe are motion activated. Next is some examples of the nature playground. So nature playgrounds is a really popular theme for playgrounds, and some of these are more probably custom designed, like this shade structure that kind of mimics bird wings. But there's also very well-known playground manufacturers that have, like in the top right image here, you could just order this out of a catalog, but it still has a more natural feel to it. And it comes with all of your warranty and safety guarantees, and is probably a little more budget friendly than a custom designed nature park. but there's lots of options there. Next is an example of the Habitat Boardwalk. So this is in that pocket, it's like a concentrated pocket of the park. But this area is meant to be a little more peaceful, a little more immersed in the nature of the park, where people can bird walk. Maybe it's a little quiet space. There could be seating along the boardwalk for small groups. And the fact that this walkway could be lifted off of the ground could make it a lower impact on vegetation and critters that are maybe going to make their home in this area for people to look at. And it also, by separating it from the ground level, it will discourage people from going off trail, maybe making unnecessary disturbance in this area. That will probably be a little more sensitive if we want to plant it a little more densely with native plants. The next slide shows that riparian zone. So this is what the boardwalk kind of moves through or around. And it's meant to represent the native riparian areas that are found near Sierra Vista. This is also at the low point of the park. So we want to think of creative ways to use the stormwater that is going to be collected on site, and maybe the stormwater can move into this site. It's kind of more dynamic. It changes with the weather, and it could be a really cool place for people to come and see. Like someday it might just be a dry rock channel, but other days it might be flowing with water. And this would definitely create a rich environment for bird watching. And then last, I think, yes, this is my last slide, with some examples of that amphitheater area. So this is situated on the high point of the site, so it can take in those amazing views of the Huachuca Mountains. There could be space, open space for flexibility, different strategies for seating that, you know, if you place it in such a way, they could also become like a play area, little steps, cool thing for kids to climb up and down. So it can really be used in a lot of different ways. You know, we want it to be comfortable year round, so thinking about trees as shade or shade structures in this area, so that people want to linger here and have a conversation. You know, this is kind of a central point where a lot of trails and pathways connect. So you want it to be very, very focal and also comfortable for people to use. So I think now we can open it up for questions and comments. Thank you so much for your time.
Laura and your team, you did a great job. Thank you so much for dialing in and giving us that input. Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you have any questions for the team or for me?
Yes, and we also have some comments from, we're still in the comment periods, right? Yeah. Open comment period. So we do have Mr. Craps.
And feel free to let me know if you want me to move back through our slides or if you want to look at anything again.
So I'm gonna ask Mr. Craps if he has his comments for Thursday. Can you bring them back Thursday during the?
I posted them online.
Okay.
And then
Perfect.
survey.
Excellent.
Perfect.
All
Yes,
right.
Mr. Mayor, we have, the Engage platform is open for comments through April 2nd.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Whoever's gonna go first. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for doing this over for us that we could see it, but we couldn't hear it. Couldn't hear us the other day. I fortunately have seen this as well at some of the other commissions, which is great. The feedback is the first thing. A lot of community feedback. in person. And this is a big task for our staff because you have anything from don't do anything at all to do everything, right? And everything in between. So it's hard. You can't please everybody. But these are some good options. And everybody I've talked to that's seen it comes to consensus of how about a third option, which is an a la carte of both. Like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and let's make a third option that we all agree on, maybe a little bit better. Right? I've heard a lot of that. This, like I said, very well put together. Knowing our area, I used to live in this neighborhood for a long time, so a few concerns, or not concerns, but just comments, I would say. When it comes to the water feature, definitely be thinking about animals that are in that area. We have a lot of javelina that run through there. So if it's going to be an area where they can get water, that's cool, but they're also going to leave their little javelina treats behind. So somebody's going to have to deal with that. Just because we set up the area for them, they're going to want to be there. So levels of height, I'm thinking when it comes to water, if it's something that's there all the time or something that's turned off and on, maybe another option where, they won't have those issues. And then some of the bigger structures, she mentioned it, a lot of this come with the safety, warranty, things like that. It's obviously going to be important for those big structures when it comes to wood in Arizona, in our climate. How long before we have to replace it? If so, what does that maintenance cost? How often do we got to do that? I like the collected stormwater thing. We always, obviously, anytime you mention water at all in Arizona, it's a lot of ears perk up for different reasons. But if you can collect natural stormwater that's there all the time, if we do happen to have a good monsoon, then you have the other side to it. You'll have people talk about mosquitoes and things like that. But that area does fill up with water a lot. Just north of that, at the Garden Canyon Linear Park. So I know people love doing all kinds of stuff in that muddy water. And then the parking, I would just say, we have this problem with Tompkins Park. There's not enough parking at that park. We have a lot of people that frequent that park. So if anything, I don't want to have that issue happen because I feel this would be a very popular park. So adequate parking for sure. Because there's nothing really laid out for off-street because those are just major streets that come through there. So it would all have to park there. If not, people would park in the neighborhood off to the side off of Camino Villa Rosa where there's a mailbox right there. So that might be an issue looking forward. There's not enough parking. I believe that was all of my comments. Oh, and then just this whole concept as a whole, the work that's going on right next door at Linear Park, I think came to as a surprise to a lot of people. I think that was voted on in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So for the work to finally be done now, there's a lot of confusion as to which park is which. And I know when we did our on-site thing, we had maps out there. But maybe it's been a while where people aren't really as in tune to what was going on back in 2008. I wasn't even here. A lot of us weren't. So maybe just a refresher of here's what's happening. But that's Linear Park. That was voted on back then. We just got some funds to do stuff for that. That's what's happening now. It is not this concept. This is still in the comment period, like we said. We've had a great couple that came last year with their beautiful map that they made, and they're engineers, I think, right? So they were. They did them. It was in our council room for a long time. So I love the feedback, and again, hopefully we can come to the most agreeable solution for everybody. You're not going to please everybody, obviously, but I really appreciate their hard work. There's so much thought goes into this. It looks amazing, and I just want to thank them for doing this work.
Sir, any other comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One, I want to thank the design group for putting all this together. I agree with Mark. Great concepts, both concept 1 and concept 2. And from feedback, it's a lot of that, hey, let's take some of this, and bring them together and get what we really want. So I look forward to seeing a lot of the feedback. But I do want to thank the Parks and Rec Commission from the start, going out, what Mark was talking about, taking the maps out there, talking to the public. Parks and Rec was all over it. They've been a part of this since the beginning, so I just want to thank them. And I like the concepts. I lean more towards concept 2, keep it natural, keep it what it looks like. But concept 1 has amazing things that I'd add to it, so it's kind of like, can we have it all, but keep it minimalized? It's look forward to hearing what a lot of the comments and keep hearing from the public. So I thank you, and I thank Parks and Rec and your staff and the rest of the staff for working with them. And then we, design group, look forward to finally one day seeing this all come together and be amazed. So thank y'all.
Any other comments?
Oh, one last one I forgot
Yes,
to
sir.
mention. The naming convention. We talked about this before. It's Roadrunner. Not too sure where that even came from. There's some theories out there, but I've had a lot of people ask me about what, how do we, how can the public put their comments in for the actual name of not only the park, but maybe some of the feature. If there's an amphitheater, can you name an amphitheater after somebody? If there's a pavilion, name the pavilion after somebody or something like that. So there's some of that questions out there in the public as to how to do that, and there is a process. So maybe just to clarify that.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez. The Parks and Recreation Commission actually did just look through that whole entire process, and they have some recommendations that will be coming to you guys, I would say, in the next month for your consideration on how to hone in that process, make it a little bit easier and very clear for the public. So thank you for that. That will be coming your way very shortly.
Awesome.
Yes, so just like Councilman Rodriguez and Councilman Benning said, parking, I live 2 blocks away from there to the south of it. Parking is going to become an issue if it's only the first concept 40 spaces. No, that will not, because it's going to be a very popular park, like you said. We have deer, we got javelina, and we got coyotes. If there's a water feature, they're going to be feeding on that every night. I see probably around 20 a night, somewhere around there sometimes. The water feature, since we're in this water crisis, I guess, I don't know. Is it going to
desert?
be? Yeah. Is it going to be reclaimed water? Is it? How is that going to work out?
Mayor, there's a lot of different options, and that's one thing that I'm talking to the WHEAT team about. And they're talking about, with some of these things, they have to be hand activated or they're not just on all the time. But there is a lot of water collecting on those sites right now already, especially in the Linear Park area where you have all of our furry friends coming up.
Yes, ma'am.
And leaving their javelina kisses and other kisses. And our staff's going to take care of those, by the way. But there's a lot of different ways to look at this, and I think that everyone is correct. I think that this is going to be a blend somehow of the two, and it's going to take a compromise to where but we're approaching it in such a way to where we're hoping that everybody gets some of what they want.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's how we're going to approach it. And the final concept's coming to you all for consideration. So once we get a final concept, then we can start looking into the exact features and how those things will be mitigated. But I'm quite sure that there's something out there that can meet the needs of the public and also ensure that we are being water conscious as well. Resources of all types. So we were throwing out ideas like maybe solar powered ramadas and electric grills that hook into a solar. We don't even know if those exist. So we're looking at all of those things now because we're sure that somehow along the way, we're not the first people to want to be more energy conscious. We just made large investments to do so. And so that is all a part of the plan moving into this new beautiful park that we're planning. And we're very excited for the challenge.
I'll bring up another one. Still in Mr. Crap's thunder. Has there been a thought about a dog park? Something? We have a lot of furry friends that walks down our neighborhood.
Yes. So we did talk about a dog park. It was not a most requested feature in the space, and we think it's probably because it's around a large neighborhood and there's not a lot of apartment living in that space. Most people who live in that area currently have dogs, and so but it's not off the table. We're still looking at everything. It just hasn't come up and risen to something that was a highly desirable feature of this particular space.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted to thank the WHEAT Design Group to being here and giving the presentation. I did make a lot of comments last time, but I wanted just to share my appreciation for this, the presentation. I especially really liked the site analysis that broke everything down. It showed the layers and then the opportunities and constraints. I thought that was really cool. And I have been seeing a lot of public discussion going on, and that's really cool to see that. So I'm excited to see where everything goes.
Any more comments? Well, thank you, Laura and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you, Laura, and your team.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So, item number C, update on the PSPRS, Public Safety Retirement, Personnel Retirement System. Good afternoon, Mr. Felix.
Yeah.
Mayor, members of council, actually some kind of more good news. Sometimes it may not look like it in this presentation, but it is actually underlying good news. I'm going to go over the status of us with the personnel, public safety personal retirement system. Since I don't know how many, I know you guys love this stuff and have it all memorized, I thought I'd go ahead and give some background just to make sure everyone's up to speed and for anyone in the public who might be watching who doesn't know. The city joined the retirement system in 1972. It's kind of like the mafia. You're in, you can't get out. So we will always be in the retirement system. Same with ASRS. Now, every year, the state has an actuarial that goes through and values our retirement system. Each police and fire are separate. Every single entity that is a member of PSPRS is a separate entity, gets a separate valuation, which is different than Arizona State retirement system. There's one valuation, one contribution rate for every city in the system. We share them all. For police and fire, for public safety, every single one has a different contribution rate depending on their individual circumstances. So if you go online, you can see literally Tucson Fire, Tucson Police, South Tucson, they're all separate. Everyone is separate. Every 5 years, they go through, they update their assumptions based on life changes, medical changes, and all sorts of other things, returns on investments, returns on other things. The big one that has happened was in 2016, the public passed a proposition which changes how annual increases are done. Prior to this, it was called an excess return. Any excess return over 9%, the retirees get half of that as a permanent adjustment. So if you had a 13% return like they did one year, 2% a permanent adjustment to them, the other 2% over the 9 went back into the system. Great as long as things are going good, but when you've lost 25% of the value of the system the year before, given a 2% permanent increase, obviously it creates some fundamental problems. So in 2019, the state changed the actuarial. The new actuarial has different ideas on things, different assumptions, and so that kind of hit us for that next year. So what is an actuarial liability? Well, Brian and Chris are owed a retirement for their life. Now, the actuary is going to try and guess, when are they going to retire? What are they going to be making? How are they going to do it? How long are they going to live? What is the value of that? What is the liability right now based on all these assumptions that they go out and look at? So, like I said, when are they going to retire? How many years of service are they going to have? How many raises are we going to get between now and then? What promotions are they going to get between now and then? What are the cost of living adjustments going to be between now and then? So you can see these are all guesses that they look at historical data, but as you've seen from our history, sometimes we give a 2% raise, other times we have to give an 8% raise. So that also plays into it. What is the economy going to do? What are the returns going to do? How is this market going to do? How long are they going to live? Is the stock market going good, bad? Are we going to invest in real estate in 2008? Tech stocks in 2003 like they did? So that's kind of where it is. So we got here, as I said, 2003, 2004, the investment company invested heavily in internet stocks, tech stocks. We all know what happened then. But 2007, 2008, they invested in real estate. We know what happened to real estate in 2008. In 2002, assets exceeded liabilities in the system as an aggregate. In 2011, the assets finally got back to where they're at in 2002, but the liabilities had doubled. The valuation was assets were 50% of the liability in the system as an aggregate. As I said, the retiree COLA structure. Any return over 9% was split between the employees, the retirees, and going back into the system. So you never easily made up your losses. And so in 2005, when they gave a 2% return, because that was the excess return, and a couple of years later that was 3%, well, in 2008, they lost 25% of that value that they had put aside for them. The employees didn't have to make it up because that was set by statute. The cities, the fire districts, they all had to make up that lost income. So the contribution breakdown is you've got a normal cost that they have. Here's what we think that it will be. The big one is the amortization of the unfunded liability, because the losses that have occurred, the structure of the system, benefits were done. That's our biggest challenge, is a structural deficit, the amortization of the unfunded liabilities. Then there's a small portion, it's also the health. So they go through, as we say, they calculate the unfunded liability, they calculate the normal costs, they add the two together to get our contribution, to get how much we need to do. They calculate the underlying payroll. The key point here is that is the payroll on June 30th only. They take who's employed on that day, calculate an annual salary, and that's the divisor of it. So we could have somebody leave the day before, hire 3 people the day after, doesn't matter. That's on that specific day. So you divide your cost by the underlying payroll, and that comes up with your percentage. So you can see how that underlying payroll can also have a significant impact on that specific day. So here's kind of a history of the contribution rates that we've had. As you can see, back in 2000, both systems were overfunded, over 100% funding. 2020, 54 and 46%. The key points of that one were the losses and some other things that have happened. The drop did affect it, despite what you may say. Now we're going to get in some numbers here. Also important to understand is the assets that I'm going to talk about here are from the valuation report. TSPRS puts out 2 reports, actually 3 reports, but 2 reports for each entity. I've got a GASB report, the Government Accounting Standards Board report, which is what goes into our financial report. And they also do an actuarial report, evaluation report, which is what they use to calculate our contribution rate. The difference is on the asset side. The liabilities on the 2 reports will be the same. The difference is on the asset side because they will smooth the earnings on this one so that you won't have big swings up and down. For instance, in 2021, the police department had interest earnings of $6.6 million. In 2022, they lost $1.2 million. Fire in 21 gained $5.3 million, and in 2022, it lost $1 million, according to the GASB report. The assets can vary by over $2 million between the 2 reports. So that's why when I use these numbers, they will be different than what you see in the financial report. So as you can see, what has been very good and one of the key factors that they'll tell you want to look at is your asset funding ratio there. As you can see, over time, we have been increasing that. That's a good thing. You want to get back to 100%. Also understand that this liability is like your mortgage. It is to be paid off at a certain date. And every year, 1 year comes off of that amortization schedule, which also plays into the funding percentage. So as you can see, from 2021, police has gone to 51.7 to 53.7. And the fire has gone from 59.2 to 63.2. Now, given the losses that you see, we can talk about that's included. Now, these include the extra contributions that we have made into that. So the policy that we have put together that the council has approved is we're going to make the mandatory payment. That, of course, happens. We're going to strive to contribute for the people that are in a drop program. Legally, we do not have to contribute for people in a drop program. We're going to budget the vacant positions. In fact, what was changed 3 years ago is we're now going to try and start moving those vacant positions to budget them at max salary for the contribution rate, not for the salary itself, but for the PSPS contribution to the maximum rate. We're going to pay the total budgeted amount in the first quarter of the year. In fact, what we've been doing the last 2 years is we've made it the first week of the fiscal year. We've made the contribution, the whole year budgeted contribution up front. The city of Scott McCarthy, who works for Queen Creek, estimates that they get an extra $50,000 a year on interest earnings, assuming the market's going good, by doing it that way, which of course, we want to get any extra earnings we can. We're also going to keep the rate at the highest rate we've paid. So like the police department and the fire department dropped a couple times, we kept it at the higher contribution rate, which also helps contribute excess funds. So here is the actual excess contributions we have had as reported to us by PSPS for each of the years. So you can see overall, we've made about $3.6 million in extra contributions over the last 3 years. I have 3 years up here because that's all the ones that they have broken out for us. And the new, as part of the new valuation, they will actually give us what the effect of these excess contributions are on our contribution rate amount. So as you can see, cumulatively, our rate next year for PSPRS would be 4.59% higher than it is, and for fire would be 4.11% higher than it is. That obviously is a savings to us, but as we use the higher rate, that actually is beneficial because that shows we're putting more extra money in this year and next year as well. We will continue to have these extra contributions as long as we continue with this. So the other one they want to tell you to look at is the actual pension cost. So as you can see, the pension cost for police has gone down all 3 years consecutively. The fire went up slightly in 2023, but that is because of the amortization and also some of their loss. But again, despite that, the funding ratio with you can see the funding ratio with the additional contributions versus where we'd be at if we had not made the extra contributions. So you can see that the extra contributions are making a significant impact on our funding ratio, and they are helping with the cost. As we said, we lost about $1.2 million in 2022. Well, last week, 2 weeks ago, you approved putting $1.2 million extra to police, which basically makes up their loss, and it's close to making up the loss for the fire as well. Unfortunately, for the public safety retirement system, the only way to put money into it is either through investment earnings, which we know from the market are hit and miss, and their policies are hit and miss, or our actual contributions. So our contributions are having a positive effect, the extra contributions and the policies that council has agreed to do and what the council is doing during the budgeting process is helping us pay this down quicker and will help us in the long run. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Now, the city of Bisbee borrowed money to pay off their unfunded liability.
Yes.
Review with us what you told us before about the danger of that type of payment of unfunded liability.
Yes, well, if you sit there, and well, let's look at last fiscal year. They took and issued bonds, and they paid it to the state for the unfunded liability. Well, the state just lost $1.2 million of interest on us. We saw what the state did with the investment before. In 10 years, you could have a bond payment of $3 or $4 million, and you could be right back with your PSPS contribution of $3.4 million. So you have just made yourself worse off given the fact of the question on the investment side, the challenges of the investment side. They bank on the fact that you're saving money and you're financing it at a lower rate. That's what they'll tell you. But Chuck and I have talked, as we recommended to you, if they still cannot keep the investment rate up to keep your liability at where it should be annually, you could easily slide back to where you're at, because we went from 111%, 127% to 50%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor McCaw, Councilmember Johnson, it is a good question, and we do talk about this, and there are risks associated with doing the the bond payoff. But some communities were so far underwater with their PSPRS contributions. I don't really blame them for doing that. They really had no other way out at that point in time. And in a low interest rate environment, it makes a lot more sense than doing it now. Obviously, interest rates are higher, but you still run the risk if their investments don't pan out that you'll be making double payments in the future. So by doing it this way, there's pain associated with that. You know, that $2 million that you approved to go into these funds, could have been used for some other projects that are sorely needed. But unfortunately, because of the situation we're in, it's better to take that money and try to make headway with this particular problem. So.
Yes, sir.
So are our contribution rates based off a state percentage or just the city?
It's based off individual items with the police department and individual items with the fire department. They look at the number of people in the system, the number of retirees in the system, they value the assets, they value the liabilities, they look at changes. For instance, you had 2 police officers that recently got disability. The current year contribution increase, 3%, was attributed to other. Well, 1.5% of the other was those 2 officers going on disability. One was twice the other one's liability. One was over 500,000, the other one was a couple 100,000. So it was one of the 2 was significantly a bigger impact on that than the other, basically 1% and 0.5%. But that is the type of thing where something happens, a person goes on disability, it just happens. When people go into the drop, it's as if they've retired. That affects the rate too. So
And the disabilities, you can't really plan on those occurring. And the trend, recently has been, nationwide, just not here for Sierra Vista, but you're seeing a lot more disability claims coming in. And of course, that negatively impacts our numbers as well. So it's unfortunate, but that is what's going on out there.
Councilman Benning, it is very exciting reading. It's on the PSPRS website if you'd like to download it. I can send it to you if you want.
And I'm pushing legislators to work their magic on this PSPRS stuff also and go to one retirement system. But
Well, the state is very good at trying to fund theirs.
Yeah.
Not so good at funding cities and counties.
Exactly.
So they do very well there. Just the other thing I want to say is David is recognized as one of the leading experts in the state on PSPRS, and we're very fortunate to have him here. I think he has a better understanding than most people do. Probably people that work there as well.
Yeah. Mr. Rodriguez.
Oh, thank you, David, for putting this together. It's always informational. It's a lot to wrap your head around numbers-wise. Also, I know it's not in here, but I mentioned it before. It also gets, when we get the money from the legalization of marijuana from Arizona, that goes into this PSPRS pay down, and that falls into where it's the contribution side, right? It's kind of mixed in there. It's not broken down, but it's in there.
It's in there. It's included in that extra contribution amount.
Okay.
We also take the fire credit that we get every year, and we also put that towards it as well.
Even wheat farms.
Just like Social Security, man, we're just paying in and it ain't gonna be there 5 years from now.
Another key thing that David pointed out, and you'll see this, in the upcoming budget, is is budgeting each individual to the maximum amount. So, and what that really does for us is it just kind of hardwires an extra contribution within the budget every year. So, so we absorb that, and then we're able to make excess contributions by budgeting in that fashion. So,
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just a random question, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but you said that we're not legally obligated to pay when someone's in the drop. I'm wondering why we wouldn't be legally obligated at that point if they're that close to retirement. Why? Do you know why that is?
Yeah, because basically, when an officer or a firefighter enters the drop, they'll tell you they've retired.
Yeah.
technically for the retirement system, they have actually retired now. Their money gets put into a special account to give them a bonus when they leave, kind of a special savings account earning extra income. But as far as they look at the city side, they're retired. It doesn't count towards their retirement years, and so that's why we don't have to do it, because technically they're retired on that day. They're just continuing to work, and they're going to get a benefit on their side of the retirement amount.
Yeah, so if we didn't fund that, the liability we would have more liability, so that's another way we're trying to attack the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we will go to our council executive report. City manager, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Some of my comments have been covered with the park. I think you made a wise decision to put that back out on Engage for comment, because even out on the street, I'm getting comments from people about that, and they seem very pleased to be able to do that. So we appreciate that. I talked a little bit about the street maintenance projects coming up, and the report indicates that North Park, Eagle Ridge, Town and Country Estates, 6 and 7 subdivisions will be the primary focus this year, and we know work is needed in those particular areas. ADOT tells us they're working on our project. So what does that mean? We don't see any equipment or people out there, but theoretically they're supposed to be doing drawings and surveys and those kind of things. And I guess in their world that counts as working on the project. But in our world, it's like, let's get this going and get some people out there and see some work being done. So we still don't have a hard date in terms of how that's going. Just in my report, indicate that we have a summer internship program that Diana Cameron in Economic Development has been spearheading for us. And we've always had interns here, but we never really advertised it or formalized it. So we've always tried to help the youth in the community, either high school or college kids, to be able to get the experience, work experience here. And now we have a more formal program, and I think it's an excellent way to outreach to the youth of the community and give them an opportunity to experience city government as well at the same time. So we appreciate Diana doing that. There's a lot in the report, and staff is here to answer any questions that you all might have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Excellent report. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Always a good report that I wish everybody would read. A lot of information there as always. The Youth Arts Festival, just so you know, the Youth Commission was there. We did have a table there at the Youth Arts Festival. We weren't mentioned in there, but it did happen. There was a table there. On the grant side, the congressional appropriations, thank you for bringing that up, Chuck, because people get that confused with, well, why are we getting money for this? What about the State Road 90? 2 different pots of money. So hopefully people can read this and just educate themselves a bit better. We do that as well on our own, talking to people. And you mentioned the streets too, and I know we've asked this before, here's your neighborhood, but what about a list of legit list of streets? Like, here's where we're going to be working on. Here's our goal. Because we get asked all the time, what about where am I at in the mix? Where am I at? How did I get this ranking? How did I not? Yeah. Right? So it's like, we have the neighborhood-ish, and I know there's at Public Works, they have a kind of a list that they go off of, but maybe we can publish that.
We are going to get you a list.
Okay.
Of specific streets, yes.
Appreciate it. Obviously, good stats there for code enforcement as always. Their budget is blown, so they're kind of hanging on so we can get more money. They have a lot of stuff they could be doing. They just don't have the money in their budget, and I feel that. I obviously talked about it when I phoned in virtually. The issue we have with the tennis courts, and the motel behind Hanatokyo, still not boarded up by the company that owns it right now in Vegas. So people are living there, breaking windows every day, but they don't seem to care, and it would cost us $20,000 that we don't have to board it up. So that's happening in our community, whether you know it or not. Drive behind Hanatokyo and see for yourself. And I appreciate the write-up from Animal Control, the chief working on the issues there, trying to get things improved all around. So I appreciate that little write-up too. That's all I have.
Liz is doing a great job. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's always nice to go through this, and it has a lot of really good information. I do wish that everybody would read it. I think it would answer a lot of their questions. I always appreciate some of the different spotlights and shout outs. I just wanted to bring attention to that. So for aquatics, the employee spotlight is for Jocelyn Height, and she is taking on a new certification as a water safety instructor. So she's teaching participants of all ages how to be safe in the pool, and then in the police department side, Officer Paul Clark, he serves as a drug recognition expert. And so in 2023, he completed 115 drug DRE evaluation, more than any other law enforcement officer in the state. So that definitely deserves a shout out. And then the employee profile, Susan Imes. This is some fun facts that she does during her work breaks. She will stock the bird feeders in the police station with bird feed and water, and she also volunteers as a dog walker, so that was really cool. Sometimes things like that can really bring a lot of joy to people in the office to see that. I like to do things like that. So there was a lot of really positive comments about her and some of the things that she does. So things like that really elevates the team, and so we appreciate learning more about that. So shout out to them.
Great. Any other comments? All right. Yes, sir. Go
She
ahead. Yeah, I'm
tapped
sorry.
me. I was going to do the same thing, but I like to Let's Talk Sierra Vista. So I got it, Chief, 300 downloads. The mayor's trying to catch you for February, though.
103.
He's counting, too. He's getting on different computers. He's trying to get to you. But, no, Let's Talk Sierra Vista is a good podcast. It's good watching, so I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to recognizing it, that it's getting hits. And then, of course, I was going to highlight the two people that you highlighted, so I appreciate it.
Brainchild of Adam Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk.
Oh, is he in it?
Yeah, there he is over there.
I love Adam.
Oh,
And that's all like that.
Any other? Recent report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Yes, sir.
I was recently at NLC in DC for the NLC conference, Congressional City League of Cities Congressional Conference. Yes. Great conference. I was able to talk to obviously all the cities and states that are involved. There was a lot of, obviously, as you can imagine, the biggest topic that had everybody that was kind of on and off the table was the immigration talk that mysteriously went off the menu, and then it came back. So everybody was there for that. So it was good to talk about Arizona, what's going on in our state, and how we connect to other states in the U.S. Right? It kind of starts here. We deal with our own issues here. High-speed chase is kind of coming through our town, and then they deal with the back end of it. So having people in that room, very interested in knowing more, and they want to talk more about it and how we can help each other out from state to state. So it's good. It was good to have the youth there. They got to talk to their senators and congressmen firsthand while they were voting on issues that day in the Capitol. That was priceless.
Did they get to go on the floor?
Yes. So they got to go there and watch the Senate House sit there. They got to watch both sides debate. That was just, and then just before that, they had talked to them and asked them, hey, as a youth, how's the border affecting you? How's social media? They're voting on TikTok, right now. So to hear have their voices heard by their legislators, priceless moment that you could never replicate. So I'm glad they were able to do that. And it was just perfect timing.
Thank you for taking.
Oh, yeah.
We have the CCRN tomorrow.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
well, probably. That's why I have to keep a calendar. It's like I find out when I wake up. No, I wanted to mention the sixth graders that we hosted from Smith Middle School yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The mayor, Councilmember Rodriguez, and I. There were like 80 kids from sixth graders. All in this room at one point, and I wanted to thank the staff for letting us kind of show up and surprise some of you and also ask you questions. They got a lot of the questions that would have been for like Tony and Diana and in economic development. They were asked of all of you, and you all handled it great. So thank you so much for fire and PD having your vehicles outside. They loved. That was a perfect ending. They were playing with the drone and the new I don't know what that little vehicle is called, the robot, yeah, yeah. And, there was a lot of enthusiasm, and they were asking, oh, how do I work for the city when, and I told them about the internship when they're old enough, and I think I thought it went really well. So thanks, guys.
Big segue. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Putting this out. So Thursday, meet and greet, council meet and greet, farmers market, starting at 12 o'clock.
That's true.
So for the thousands watching on YouTube, come on out and say, hey.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the Transportation Commission met on the 30th. They voted on a new member, so they have a 5th member that will be swearing in soon. There was a general plan update that was given by Mr. Jeff Pregler. And the next Transportation Commission meeting will be on May the 1st. It's a Wednesday, and it'll be at the airport, 3:30. If needed, there might be a work session called before then, so any of the public is welcome to that. Just kind of keep an eye out. And if you would like to make it, definitely show up, or you can also access it online and see any past meetings or anything as well.
And I know this is in a future meeting, but tonight we have Tip Top at,
Benny's.
No.
Is it
it's
somewhere else?
The
Pit stop.
Pit Stop Burgers. Big Mike has opened his restaurant, Special Olympics, given to Special Olympics, and come on down. It's from 3 to 9 tonight. He has rolled out a special burger. It's come see it. So it's a jalapeno burger or something like that. No, green chili burger with a green chili cheese. And a green chili bun. So that should be quite interesting. But it sounds good. So report on any recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have 2 things coming up at your next work session in April, your 6-month strategic plan update. I'm currently working on that. And you'll get your first budget presentation. So staff will be presenting on the revenue projections and debt.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Comments? We are adjourned. See you on Thursday.